Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel for northwoodspt.com. Today we're going to go over the Pallof Press, or the press out, from my book, The Disc Golf Handbook. We're going to show you the traditional way that we describe in the book, as well as several variations to further challenge your core stability with this specific exercise, and also allow for some creativity and just some novelty to the exercise in various positions that will all translate to that disc golf course or just general core stability for you. To start, we're going to go with the traditional Pallof press. I have my resistance band attached to an anchor off to the side, and we're going to go through sort of the setup for it, and we'll go through a few reps and tell you kind of what you're trying to accomplish and what you're looking for with this. So to start, I've got my anchor at about chest height or just below it. I'm going to stand with my feet about hip width apart. All right, we're going to talk about variations to that in a moment, but starting with hip width apart, and we're going to tuck that tail, which we talk about in the book, but it's tightening the abdominal muscles and tightening the glutes, and as a result, your pelvis sort of rolls back, or you sort of tuck that tail. Okay, that's our starting point, because the purpose of this exercise is to work on core stability. All right, our main purpose for our core is not to do a crunch, is not to do, develop the six-pack movements. It's really to keep a nice stable spine so that our extremities can move around that stable spine. For disc golf specifically, we want a nice, strong, stable spine because we want to use our hips and our upper back and shoulder to create that toss. Okay? So, starting with my feet hip width apart, I'm going to hold the handle or hold the resistance band, however you're using it, right at chest height. I've got that tail tucked. And what I'm doing is keeping my arms as relaxed as possible. I'm going to push straight out in front of me, okay? As I do this, the exercise is me staying solid here. The band wants to rotate me. I'm not letting it. So again, I'm going to tuck that tail nice and tall. I'm as relaxed through the arms as possible. I'm not trying to muscle this with my arms. I'm trying to keep my arms relatively relaxed as I press straight out. Okay? As I do that, I'm going to hold for about 3 seconds and then come back in. This is my rest position. This is the active position. Good. As I'm out there, I should feel my abdominal muscles kick on. I should feel my back muscles kick on a little bit. And traditionally, the hip that's closer to the anchor point will also kick on. Okay? One more here. Get that nice strong position. Shoulders down or armpits to hips as we talk about in the book. Pressing straight out. Holding 3, 2, 1. I'm engaged there and then back in. Okay, so that is the traditional Pallof press. Next, we're going to go over some variations to this to further challenge you. Okay, so here's some variations that we can do, and we're going to start in standing. And what we're going to do is we're going to vary how our feet are. Okay, so in a second, I'm going to show you some shots of just sort of what my feet are doing. But to start here, the setup is exactly the same. We're still going to have the hand in the center of our chest. We're still going to think about tucking our tail. But we're simply going to vary the width of our stance. If I go wider with my feet, that becomes quite a bit easier. I've got a more stable base. Right? A pyramid is wider at the bottom. It's a more stable base. If I want to challenge myself, I'm going to bring my feet really narrow, almost touching, or they can be touching if you want. And that's going to really make me work that core stability even more to hold that position because my legs can't do as much. Okay? A second ago, we talked about how the hip closer to the anchor point is the one that's working the most. A variation that we can do here is what I call a kickstand. So the leg that's closer to the anchor point, in this case my left leg, is going to have about 80% of my weight. I'm going to put 20% of my weight in my back leg. Again, I'll show you my feet here in a second. But the idea is the same. I'm just overloading one foot versus the other. As I press out. And in this case, I really feel that left hip engaging and that left leg engaging some more. Final variation here in standing is what we call tandem stance, or one foot in front of the other like you're on a tightrope. So I can do it either way. right? Left foot in front. You saw me lose my balance there a little. Holding out here, I really have to fight to keep that balance. Or we can put left foot in back. Same idea, pressing out and holding. But next we're going to go into kneeling and half kneeling positions and look at some variations there. Okay, so now we're going to look at the Pallof press or the press outs in some kneeling positions. When we go into a kneeling position, that challenges our core in a different way because we're taking some of the, the assistance or the benefit of using our full leg muscles to help balance us and stabilize us. As we take some of those out, that forces us to use those hips and core a little bit more and maybe just more importantly differently than we do in standing. Okay, so I'm going to start in what we call a half kneeling position. So we talked about a moment ago how the hip closer to the anchor point is the one that's working more. So when we go into these half kneeling positions, you want to be kneeling on the leg that's closer to the anchor. So in this case, it's my left side. My other leg I want at about 90 degrees. As I bring the band in towards my chest, same starting position, I want to really focus on that down leg. So we keep talking about that tucking of the tail. Same idea here. A simple cue is to really think about that glute muscle. So as I come here, I really want to tighten that glute muscle. I may feel a little bit of a stretch in the front of my hip on this side, and that's okay. But tightening that glute muscle is our main goal. So from here, it's the same activity. Tight glute here, strong core here, tail tucked, pressing straight out, holding about 3 seconds, and then I'll come back in. Okay? From here, we can simply go to a double kneeling position. So I can have both knees on the ground. Again, I'm thinking about that tail being tucked. So I'm still really squeezing those glutes. I'm going to press straight out here. Very similar idea. Glute should be super engaged in this position, as well as the core. Okay? Okay, there are some variations on the Pallof press or the press out from my book, The Disc Golf Handbook. If you like what you saw, I'd love if you liked this video, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to continue to post more content over the coming weeks and months, including various exercises from the book, The Disc Golf Handbook, as well as some new and different ideas that aren't in the book that I think would really help you stay safe out there on the disc golf course and continue to have fun. So thanks so much for joining me today. Again, you can visit northwoodspt.com for further information. Thanks so much.